so great. We love when we start to see, more than 100 people in the waiting room. Good to see you there in the comments. My name's Jenny Anchondo, and I am merely here as your facilitator of these events, really to welcome in our guests. And this is the last session of the year, and we are ending it with a bang because this is Lean Model Canvas Part 2 with Tarsha Hearns. So I know many of you, in fact, hundreds of you were here for Part 1. This is Part 2. Have no fear if you were not here for Part 1. That is, still stick around and you're still going to find this to be very valuable, but you'll be able to see the replay of the other one on Sarah's YouTube channel, which has all of the past sessions. It's a wealth of information. Now, let me tell you about Tarsha's background. So she is actually the director of LiftFund DFW, and she's also known as the marketing lady. That's sort of like, in layman's terms, she is the marketing lady. She has so much experience in this realm, and you'll learn that through what she presents today. To date, she has been a part of an organization that has assisted more than 2,000 women and minority small business owners. So she really knows what she's talking about when it comes to this. She has been considered 40 under 40 in Collin County Business Person of the Year, Women in the Media Award. She's also truly been, just in her personal time and passions, an advocate for small businesses, an advocate for minority-owned businesses, an advocate for women-owned businesses. So when you talk about somebody who's on your side, Tarsha is it. Now, I don't want to take up any more time because she has a lot to get to. I'm going to be here on standby. So if Tarsha's speaking and you need clarification on something or have a question about something, type it in the chat or send it to me and I will make sure we get that question answered. And then we'll do a full Q&A at the end. So don't forget to be coming up with questions as we go. And without further ado, Tarsha, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Welcome back, everyone. I am very excited to have this opportunity to go over Part 2, but I'm very curious, how many returning people do we have? So if you were here last week, just kind of give some thumbs up or put yes in the chat, because I'd love to know how many of you were here last week. And then I'm going to put a few people on the spot. I want to know how many of you actually did the homework. So Jenny, how many people put in there they were here last week?
There's always a slight delay in the chat, so we're not seeing any just yet. We're seeing Matthew checking in, Agda checking in. Hello, everybody. Let us know if you were here last week and if you did the homework. No judgment if not, but just let us know so that she has a good idea of sort of where we stand and where we go from here.
Yeah,
I know people are still kind of getting their bearings here. The chat's over there on the right-hand side for you.
No problem. So while people are joining, and again, if you were here last week, just put, thumbs up in the chat or yes in the chat. Again, just want to know how many new people, returning people we have. But here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to do a quick debrief of what we covered last week. Then we'll go a little deeper into those 9 components of the business model canvas. So if you were here last week, I gave you an example. We went over a few. Now we're just going to dive deeper. We're going to talk about understanding your customer. We're going to look at another business model canvas, because I feel like the more examples you have of companies who use this business model canvas, the better understanding you'll have. And then we'll go over those 9 components. And so I'm going to give you the heads up now. Any of you who were here last week, or if you've ever done a business model canvas before and you want to be on the hot seat, I will request for one volunteer, if we have time, to get on the hot seat. What does that look like? That means you will be able to share your, not share like share your screen share, but you will walk us through your 9 components of your business model canvas. And you'll have an opportunity to just ask me direct questions about it and get feedback right on the spot. So keep that in mind. And for those of you who are just joining, maybe you want to, be bold and brave and be on the hot seat. You're welcome to do that because we are going to go through the business model canvas. Um, so let's just get started because we do have a lot to cover. But before we do, I really want to talk about this quote here, and it says here, the difference between market takers and market makers isn't product innovation, it's business model innovation. So the difference between market takers and market makers is business model innovation. Notice it didn't say business plan innovation, it said business model innovation. And if you remember from last week, we talked about the differences of the business plan, which is something that investors, partners use to determine whether or not they want to invest in your concept or business idea. It is a business plan is really used for the owner or founder to really think through in depth, the customer. So it's something that can be done, but the business model canvas is that one pager that really takes a high level approach and can be done, with not those 9 components. So let's go over some of the things that we talked about last week. So I'm going to test your memory for those of you who may have done the homework. So the first thing is we talked about product market fit. So I have a question for those of you who returned and may have done the homework. Was there anything that you discovered about your own product market fit? Was there anything that you discovered about your own product? Your problem solution fit. Was there anything you discovered about your problem solution fit? And for those of you who are new and trying to what is product? You have to watch the recording because I can't go into detail. But what we talked about is, have you identified the right problem? And do you have the solution for the right problem? And that's where you have fit. That you've identified the right problem and you have the solution for the right problem, and that is your fit. So I'd love to hear what someone may have discovered about their problem solution fit. Do we have any takers?
We haven't gotten any yet, but maybe give an example of what would be something that someone would learn. People are coming in from very different, ranges of expertise, so it can be intimidating to speak up in a forum like this. So let us know what an example might be that somebody might have learned.
Yeah, so last week we shared how Heinz ketchup created some purple ketchup. And so we wondered, what problem are they actually solving? It looked a little gross, so it wasn't a good fit. So sometimes we create products and services that really doesn't fit the market's need. And so that purple ketchup was not even solving a problem. And we also, another example would be, an easy example is the Apple iPod. Back when we had our CD players, our Walkman, we were playing and listening to our music that way. And most of us was pretty happy and we didn't know we had a problem. But when Apple came along with this small MP3 player that held thousands of songs, they created a problem, which was not having enough capacity to hold all the songs. So they created they came up with a problem and they came up with a solution, and that's how they created their product market, their problem solution fit. So I'm curious, the other thing that we talked about was the product market fit. So this is another diagram here. So we talked about problem solution, and then you have your market, right? So how does that all play? Have you identified the problem of your target audience? Is the product or service that you're offering solving that problem? And is that product or service solving the right problem for the right market? And that's where your product comes in. And that's where we have product market fit. So I'm curious, did anyone determine how they are solving their customers' problems? So even if you didn't do the homework, if you could put in the chat, how are you solving your customers' problems with the product or service that you currently offer? How are you solving your clients' problems with the solutions that you offer? Would love to hear from someone.
Yes, I think that's a great question to ask because it looks like a lot of people are new this time around. So maybe people who actually weren't here last time, so they're hearing from you for the first time, or perhaps haven't gotten the replay just yet. So even if you're new, and then some people are also saying, I don't have a business just yet. So I think they're kind of holding off. So perhaps if you have an idea for a business or a service you'd like to offer, then the floor is open for you to answer as well. And I will let you know, it's kind of a rare opportunity to have access to Tarsha right now. So by all means, utilize this so that she can kind of help you navigate if you have something that you'd like to say here or something that you'd like to weigh in on.
Yeah, so I saw someone put something about technology, right? So if the solution that you offer is technology, obviously technology is a broad term, but let's just say you offer network solutions, right? So you help companies, network all their computers. You may help them with Office 365, right? So that's a solution, right? So then what is those solutions that you offer or services? What is the problem, right? Maybe the problem is you have people who work remotely now, during this pandemic. A lot of people had to shift, and plenty of people did not have the right kind of technology um, in place where they had cloud technology, right? So maybe the problem you're solving is companies do not have cloud technology to support remote workers or cloud technology as a backup to that hard drive, right? So that would be the problem. And then based on who you're targeting, is it the right audience, right? So maybe sometimes people say, sales aren't doing well, or I spend a lot of time putting in proposals and quotes, and nobody, pays. You might be targeting the wrong audience. So that's what we're talking about: problem, solution, market, and then fit. So does your product or service fit by solving the problem? Do you have the right solution to solve the problem? And is your solution solving the problem for the right market? So we've been exploring problem, solution, fit, and this is step one in the concept validation process. So many of you might be very new and you're still trying to figure out the business idea or concept hasn't been thought through. This diagram on the right is a good example of how to really think through that concept and validate that. If you feel confident about your problem solution fit, then you also must achieve product market fit. So if you're in the concept validation stage, you need to really be focusing on the left side. What is the problem and what solution do I have to solve that problem? And where does that fit? If you're confident about your problem solution, then you want to focus on the right side, right? So even if you achieve at solving a problem effectively, you must also validate if there is a sufficient market that exists. So that's where you're on this right side. Is there enough market? Are you targeting the right market? for this to be a good business model for you. Last week, we also covered the different types of models. One where you replicate or one that you innovate. And so I gave the example of a business model that replicates. It's like a dry cleaner, a hair salon, a nail salon, right? These types of businesses are serving large growing markets and the needs of those large growing markets. And then the innovative type of business model is one where you may be modifying, adjusting, or coming up with something new to serve an existing market, or you're coming up with something new and creating a market for that product or service. I think I see some chat conversations or posts going. Anything I need to address in there?
Nope. Somebody was just asking if somebody's they don't have a business. So they're just saying, I don't have a business. How does this pertain to me? So we'll just keep listening.
Okay, no problem. So again, like a business that replicates, they focus on that growing population, auto repair, hair salons, restaurant, innovative business. They're going to focus on bringing new ideas or methodologies to the marketplace. So I want you to think about the type of business that you have or that you're thinking about having. Are you replicating or are you innovating? So give yourself a moment. Are you replicating? You're serving a growing population and you're meeting the needs of that growing population, like a hair salon, auto. So you're just duplicating something that already exists, right? You're not creating anything new. You're just slapping your brand name and company name on it, and then you're just replicating, right? Innovative this is brand new, right? Or you've taken something that exists and you're tweaking it. So again, the example was when we had our CD players, right? And we moved from cassette to CD to MP3, right? And now we're even past MP3 and we're just strictly on like Apple Music and Amazon Music and Spotify. So you don't even need a device now because you can stream that music. So that's what we talk about innovate. So if you know what type of model you have, replicate or innovate, put that in the chat. The next question to ask yourself, and again, we are doing a debrief of what we learned last week. So if you're feeling lost because this is your first session, don't worry, you'll have to watch the video from last week because we're just debriefing and then we'll get into the new content. So did you gain any clarity on what business you are in? So last week I asked the question, what business are you in? And most people answer that by talking about the product or service that they offer. But really, when you're talking about what business you're in, you're talking about the value that the customer is buying. So when you answer the question, what business are you in, you should be speaking in terms of the problem you solve and the value the customer is buying. So again, let's give an example of, I think last week we talked about Southwest. And so what business are they're in right now? They talk about bags fly free, right? So they're in the business, they're not just an airline, they're in the business of low cost, flights, no fuss, not complicated, easy access, easy travel for the traveler. That's the business that they are in. So have you gained any clarity on that? Do you understand the value the customer is buying? For example, quick car oil change, they're not in the business of changing people oils. They're actually in the business of providing convenient, flexible car maintenance. So when you go to get your oil change, that's the business they're in, convenient, flexible oil changes. And so that kind of covers what we talked about last week, which was problem solution fit, whether your business model is you replicate versus innovate, and problem solution market fit. So any comments or questions in the chat before we dive into the new content that we're going to focus on today?
Just a couple people hopping on late and saying hello. So I think we're just ready to hear from you.
All right. So before, again, we talked about the business model canvas. One of the segments in the business model canvas is your customer segment. And you would be surprised at how many people really truly do not know who their customers are. The business model canvas is highly customer centric. Customers often determine your business model, and the needs and the pains and the other traits dictate a great deal of your business model. So I'll say that again. Your customers dictate your business model, their needs, their pain points, and other traits. So if you have not done a customer or buyer persona, it is highly recommended that you do that. A buyer persona is simply a fictitious character of who your ideal customer would be. So let's just take the gentleman here on the left with the beard, right? We could call him Bob, Bob the buyer. Well, what does Bob the buyer like? What is his needs? What are his pain points? Does he shop online? Does he shop in person? Where does he live? What's his background? What influences his purchases? This is what you have to know about your customers. And this is critical to understand who your customers are and what they value and how they experience the problem that you're tackling. So I want you to think about, we talked about problem. What problem are you solving? Now you're thinking about your customer. How do they tackle the problem that they have? Well, my car registration has to be renewed before the end of this month, right? I'm a very busy person. I do not like going to sit at an auto place all day. But the place that I go to make it so easy and convenient because they allow us to schedule appointments. And they they send us reminders, and at the time of our appointment, we literally come in there, get the inspection done, and bam, we're out of there, right? So the problem that they're tackling, this place that I go to, is convenience. Is for a busy person like me, convenience is important. And me having to spend an hour waiting to get my um, inspection for my renewal, that's just not going to work for me. So I'm going to go someplace where that's the value for me is convenience. Some business models have customers, and these are the people who are going to buy your product or service, or some business models have users, and these are the people who use the product. So we're in the season of shopping. Everybody may have done their Black Friday shopping, or you might be one of those last minute, week of Christmas shoppers, right? You're shopping for someone else. So in that situation, you are the buyer, but whoever the gift is for is the actual user. So you have to understand, does your business model serve customers, the person who is going to buy, or users, or both? Because the person that buys it could also, I went Black Friday shopping for myself and others, but I did. I had my eye on a few things and I went and bought it. So I was a customer and a user. So you have to understand, are you one or the other? So let's talk more about these customer segments. Who is your audience and what defines them? If you're a new business or you're thinking about starting a business, this is like the first thing. You can't be successful in business if you don't know who you're serving. And if you don't know them like the back of your hand, right? So who are they? What defines them? Are you going to have multiple customer segments? So are you going to serve business to, are you a business to consumer or also business to business? So an easy example, Office Max. Office Max sells to consumers, so you might go there to get school supplies for your kids, but you also might go there to get office supplies for your office. So they serve multiple segments. So at this point, I'm about to go through the 9 components of the business model canvas. If you were here last week, or if you all still have the link to that template and want to put the link to the download the template in the chat, you can follow along. I recommend you pull it out if you have it from last week, or download the template by getting that link. So let's talk about customer service, the customer segments. This defines the different groups of people or organizations that your company is going to reach and serve. So think in terms of profitable customers and how you're going to serve profitable segments and how you're going to serve these customers. So you might have this mass market segment where any and everyone can buy your products and services. A mass type of customer segment would be hair salon, auto repair, those types of things, dry cleaners, right? Any and everyone. That's a mass. So the market is broad, everybody has the same needs, or you might target a niche market or unique market, right? You might think about those electronic vehicles, the Tesla, right? That's a niche, unique market, and they're targeting specific needs. Or you might have segmented markets with slightly different needs and problems. Sometimes businesses can fail because customers don't care enough, or the business model does not adapt or innovate to their needs. So let's think about some businesses who were not able to change their model to meet the changing needs of their customers. I want you to remember, if you can remember, the Polaroid camera, where you took a picture and then bam, it came right out. Well, for a long time, that was just the thing, popular. But then when these digital cameras came out, sales dwindled, and then, you didn't see those Polaroids being sold anymore. Recently, they've kind of come back as like a nostalgia type of product, but it's not like to the mass market. Now it's more niche. Blockbuster. Why do you think Blockbusters failed? Can anyone share in the chat? Why do you think, based on customer segments and what I just talked about, why do you think Blockbuster failed? I mean, if you drive around, there's not a Blockbuster anymore. So I'd love to hear, why did they fail? Why do you think they failed?
Regina says DVDs are better than a VHS. CDs and DVDs, she says, last longer. Yeah, and I'll just put in there, we're not getting other responses. Oh, Teresa says because of the internet. Perhaps because they didn't innovate, perhaps because they just stayed in their same lane and kept doing the same thing over and over, and everybody leapfrogged them.
Absolutely. They did not adapt fast enough to the changing needs of their market. So another example is Skype. Skype, of their customer segment are web users globally and people who want to make phone calls. So they have a mass market business model because it's very generic. Web users globally. So that's people all over the world who want to make phone calls, right? Uber, their customer segment example would be mobile users nationally. So again, very mass market focused type of customer segment. So I'm curious, anyone want to share, if you want to share what your market segments? Are you a mass segment, mass, niche, or do you have specific needs that you target with your market segments?
Go ahead and type it in the chat, everybody. Don't be shy. You're not going to be put on the spot. We just kind of are having some discussions back and forth, but I'll even, okay, Lanita sent privately. She's niche. Lanita, if you are on here, go ahead and let us know what you do exactly so we can take that a little bit further.
Yeah.
And I will even tell you, just to, I'm thinking about even what I do in event hosting and event marketing and media coaching and on-camera coaching for people. That's very specific. It's very, very specific. So it wouldn't be a broad audience. It's just people who are going to appear on camera, either on the internet or on television, or, or need somebody to host an event. So it's very niche and very specific. So Lanita is, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I love that name. She helps people to organize.
So who is your market though? That's what you do. What's your market, your customer segment? I'm going to go back to this slide. Who is your audience? What defines those people that you help to organize? This is important to know when you are even writing a business plan, but it's important to know with your business model canvas, because you got to know how to serve them. And if your business, the way your business is modeled and structured, is it structured to serve audience properly? So I'm going to move on. Oh, go ahead.
She just said families. She serves families, but yes, please go on.
Your value proposition is the reason why customers will turn to you over the competition. So if you remember on the debrief slide, I talked about problem solution, and we talked about what business you're in. You're in the business of solving your customer's problem. You're not in the business of selling organizing. You're not in the business of selling technology. You're not in the business of selling media coaching. You're in the business of solving a problem or meeting a need. This is a very important question to know how to answer. What needs and or problems does your business solve for your customer, and what sets you apart from others? So if you have a business model that's targeting a mass audience, and you have one of those replicated type of business models, meaning everybody is doing the same thing, it's just a different company name. Like when you go get your nails done, you can go anywhere to get your nails done because you're going to get the same type of service, right? Now, how they deliver that service and the value is what sets you apart. For example, the place I'm glad I'm not showing my nails because I haven't gotten them done. But the place that I love to go to, they have cocktails. They serve you a glass of wine. They have a little mini bar, and so that's what sets them apart. There's like 3 nail places within less than a mile that I could easily go to. The prices are pretty much the same, but what sets this one place apart is that I enjoy a cocktail while getting a mani-pedi. So it's the mix of elements you can bundle to cater to the segment's needs. Each customer segment has its own needs and its own value proposition. So for example, Skype, we talked about Skype before. Their customer segment was web users globally. Their value proposition is free internet calling and video calls. Very simple, right? They're putting the regular landline out of business. Next, we have channels. This describes how the value proposition is communicated and delivered to your customer. So I want you, before I give you the answer, if we're thinking about Skype, So we said Skype's customer segment is web users globally. They have a mass customer business model. It's an innovative business model that serves a mass market. Their value proposition was free internet and video calls. That's their value proposition. So what are the channels in which they deliver that value? How do they get that free internet and video calls to their customer? How do you think they do that? If you have an idea, put that in chat. Channel types include indirect through partners, like retail stores, wholesalers, retailers, or direct through your sales team. This could be someone coming directly to your website or directly to your store. So that's your channel. This is where, so in my example of the nail salon, I go directly to the store. So for that business, that's how they deliver their value to their customers via direct sales. Do we have any answers in the chat?
Yeah, Regina was just saying through email, contact through email.
For Skype?
About when you were asking about the channels by which people are connected.
Okay, yeah, hers is through email. So are you, my question to think about, are you actually emailing people and they're purchasing through email, or are you just using like email newsletters to communicate your offers so that they can purchase? That would be one of the questions.
It sounds like Regina doesn't have a business herself. She's more on here really just honestly learning. So so she was just answering that would be a potential way.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So reaching out to promote and sell, not just sending a regular email, email introducing yourself and so forth, but if you're marketing through email, absolutely. So now we're talking about customer relationships. How do you get, keep, and grow your customer base? Some of you may have heard about the 80-20 rule. It applies to almost everything in life, but in sales and marketing, what it means is 20% of your customers are going to generate 80% of your sales. 20% of your customers will generate 80% of your sales. So this is why understanding customer relationships is important, and understanding how do you get, keep, and grow that customer database. So you're going to want to clarify the type of relationship you want to establish with your customer segment. So are you only based on what you sell or offer, is this a one-time purchase, or are they coming back for more? Is it maybe a monthly purchase? Is it a weekly purchase? I mean, nails, maybe for me, a couple of times, twice a month, right? So that's, and then I get a little loyalty card they stamp. That's how they're keeping me. Is one, they're boozing me up with the cocktails when I go, and then they're giving me a loyalty card that I stamp and get a 10% discount once I get to like 20 or something. So that's what you think about. What is the relationship you want to have? Here's an easy example. Neiman Marcus. Their customer relationship is all about personal assistance. Banks, right? Nowadays, everything is self-serve. You could take a snapshot of your check and deposit, drive up to the ATM. And so if you think about Skype, their customer relationship, the way they manage that is strictly online. So let's go. Let's skip one. Hold on, I want to go back one. There we go. So let's talk about money, revenue. What are the ways in which you make money? There's just two types. It can be transactional or recurring. So think about this. What value? I keep using that word value, and if you're not clear on what that value is, going through this whole business model canvas process will be helpful to you. So your value could be, here are examples of value to customers. It could be innovation. You know, the newest Apple Watch, the newest Fitbit, the newest cell phone, the newest features on those products. Value could be performance, because this is what people buy. They're buying value. Value could be customization. Value could be price. That's why people prefer to shop at Walmart over Target. Target is slightly priced higher than Walmart, so they value price. Brand recognition, accessibility, convenience, usability. Is it easy to use? Is it going to save somebody time or money? These are examples of value that people buy. And are your customers really willing to pay for this value? So transactional is that one-time customer payment, like I mentioned. You know, what's that customer relationship like? Are you just going to touch them one time? And if so, if it's a one-touch situation, you want to think about, what is my referral marketing strategy like? Because I'm not going to get any more money from this person for at least another year or two. So for example, a one-touch transaction might be a realtor who sells houses. Well, you're not, you know, on average, people stay in those houses about 5 years if they're staying in it to live 5 to 10 years, right? So you may not get any other business from that person. So you have to think about referrals. Who do they know that they can refer to you if you have a one-time customer type of relationship? Ongoing, if you have that ongoing or reoccurring, how are you going to serve that reoccurring? Are these going to be ongoing payments that's going to be delivered, you know, via, you know, ACH withdrawal, credit card, you know? So you got to think about how you're going to make money and what are the things you're going to use to help you generate that revenue. So another example of recurring would be a prepaid or subscription-based type of membership. Any questions in the chat? Almost to the end.
No, I got some private messages, people sharing from earlier questions, what they do for business, saying hers is one touch. This is from Lenita, with possible referrals. She was the one earlier who was talking about the organizational business.
Yep. So then we get into key resources. So these are going to be the most important assets to help make your business model work, right? So you need the customers, but then you need these key resources in order to deliver on your value proposition. These key resources allow your company to create and offer that value to your customer and earn revenue. Your key resources allow you to create the offer and your value to your customers and generate revenue. So let's use Skype, for example. Their key resource, because they sell, what do they sell? Free internet calling and videos, right? So what the key resource, in order for them to create and offer value to their customers, they need software developers. They need people who are going to design and code the technology and maintain that software. That's their number one key resource. So what is the key resource? What is essential for you to be able to offer and deliver on those previous components of what we covered? Your customer segment, customer relationship, value proposition. Are there any key resources you already have? And are there any key resources you still need? So I'm going to move on to key activities. So again, I'm giving you the 9 components of the business model canvas, and at the end, I believe I have another slide that puts it all together for you. So for a software company, a key activity is software development. For a computer manufacturer, the key activity would be supply chain management. For a consulting company, a key activity would be problem solving. What are the essential things that you must do to make your business work? So think about your process. So for the person who said you organize things for people, what are the essential things that you must do to make your business work? What is your process? And what key activities do your value proposition require? So for a organizing company, maybe the key activity is around how you, I don't know if you use some kind of computer aided design, or you come in and you take a picture. Like there's this app now that you can download and you can scan your room, and then you can place furniture based on how your own house or room is laid out. So for an organizing type of business, maybe that's the key activity, but that key activity is also a key resource. The app or the technology is the key resource needed to deliver the value. So does anyone want to share in the chat what is the essential thing they do to make your business work? Share that in the chat.
You're asking what, say that, repeat that one more time so everybody knows exactly what you're asking so they can give answers.
So thinking about what you offer and how you solve the problem for your customer, what are the essential things that you do? What are like the most important things that you do in order to make this work for you? Is it your process? That's what your key activity is. I have 2 more to cover, so let's get through that. Key partnerships. Are there any people, organizations, or other businesses that you need? So we're in this, I read the statistic that says 90% of small businesses are solopreneurs. They're the one woman or one man shop. So in order for you to be successful and do what you have to do, you must have some key partnerships. So maybe these are independent contractors, subject matter experts. Maybe these are joint ventures that you have, that you partner with others. So this is very important. So I want you to think in terms of the network of suppliers. I've had customers who sell clothing. They don't manufacture the clothing, right? But they rely on their suppliers to deliver their product. Back in early October, I ordered something on Etsy, and on it said the shipping turnaround was 2 weeks. Well, I needed it by the end of October for an anniversary gift. 2 weeks had passed. My product was not in the mail. It said it was stuck in New York. As you know, we have supply chain problems right now all across the country. And my product never came. My anniversary event came and went, and I never got it. I got a return. I got a refund. But the point is, in order for that business to be successful, to make money, their network of suppliers is really important. Partners, any kind of key resources that you acquire from your partners, and the activities those partners perform. So think about what kind of partnerships to consider, because this could be strategic alliances. If you're a small business, are there other companies you can partner with to go in together on bulk purchases? Are there other companies you can partner with to go on joint projects? Um, again, joint venture, buyer seller type of agreement. So think about the type of partners, key partnerships that you need. And the last thing is your cost structure. And then we'll go into the business model canvas example that puts all of this together. And if there's somebody that, want to be on the hot seat, we'll spend some time doing that. So this is your cost, not the price that you're going to sell your product or service for. This is what does it cost you to do business. So what are the costs and expenses that you incur to operate your model? It costs money to create and deliver that value to your customer segment. It costs money to be profitable and sustainable. The cost should be minimized. However, how will low-cost business models impact the value provided? So a lot of times in business, if we're trying to reach a certain profit model, right, you can either increase profit. If you're trying to reach a certain profit margin, you could either increase your price or decrease your cost, right? That's the only way you're going to increase that margin, right? Increase the price or decrease your expenses. If you look at decreasing your expenses, how does that devalue what you offer, right? You don't want to make it too cheap where it loses its value. So your cost structure are your cost of offering the value. You want to think about the key activities that you're doing. Which one of your key activities are most expensive? So if you are already in business and you rely on key resources like contractors, you have key partnerships, you want to look at evaluate the cost. What are the most expensive activities in order to deliver value, and what can you do to improve that cost so that you can generate revenue or meet the profit margins you would like to meet? Are there any questions about those 9 segments I just went over? Because we've just went through and defined each one of them. And next, I want to share how all this looks for those that are new and see how it goes on the business model canvas. So we'll walk through this together. But I wanted to grab any questions because I think we have about 7 minutes.
Yeah, Tarsha, go ahead and go right into it. Nothing specific right now. People are just kind of grasping the whole thing and taking it all in. So I'll let you take it from here, and I'll continue to pop in if I get any specific questions here.
So as I was going through the business model canvas, I defined each of these 9 segments that you see here on the screen. And I use Skype as an example because most people are familiar with Skype or Skype type products. So the business model canvas that you create for your business, it should tell a story. And when you complete your business model canvas, tell your story one sticky at a time. The link that's provided to you, you'll be able to download a template that looks just like this. I recommend you use little sticky notes if you want. So here's Skype's story. They have 2 customer segments, and their value proposition for web users is free internet and video. So you notice I'm starting on the right-hand side because we always want to start with our customers. The value proposition for their customers is cheap calls to other phones. Simple as that. The channels that they use, so we're going down to channels. The channels in which they will deliver value is via their own platform and headset partnerships. So they don't make their own headsets, but they have partnerships with companies that do so that they can make headsets that I guess is optimized to work really well with Skype. So that's their channels. They're trying to touch a mass audience, all right? So we're talking about customer relationships. So the relationship is community building, self-service and automated. Because in order if you're targeting the whole world, it's hard to have a relationship with the whole world. So you might have to make that self-service, right? Automated, and build a community within the network to connect with each other in like a forum. The way they make money is via the prepaid credits or subscriptions from web users, as well as hardware sales through headset partnerships. And in order to deliver those free internet calls, now we're talking about in order to deliver those free internet calls and cheap calls to phones, the key resource is software developers. We talked about that earlier. Their main activity, so key activity, is developing software to deliver that value. And to make this business model work, they have a network of payment providers, distributors, and other partners. So those are their key partners. And the cost structure, they are a cost-driven structure. So to minimize costs, they must manage the complaints. It may cost them money so the more complaints they get about the service, if it's not working, people are going to want their money back. So they got to minimize those complaints to keep the customers they have and develop reliable software. So that's the business model canvas. I mean, we just went through the 9 components of the business model canvas. It is 2:57 my time. I know this is a lot and probably overwhelming for the people who didn't attend last week, but if you watch the video and it'll all come together, I highly encourage you to download the template, re-watch the video, and follow along, because this is pretty much your one pager of how your business model is going to work.
That is awesome, Tarsha. Thank you so much. So I did get a question from somebody wondering if they could get this graphic that you have right now on Skype. The Skype.
Yeah, you know what? I would Google Skype business model canvas, because that's what I did.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Great. And
yep.
then everybody, I just want you to know in the chat, when she's mentioning that template, that's in the chat right now. So what you can do with that is that copy that and then paste it into a separate browser, right? Because we're still going to be on here for just a minute here. And copy that, and then you can paste it as soon as we're off, and then you'll be able to get to that. I also want to remind everybody that part 1 is out on Sarah's YouTube channel as we speak. So that is that's where you're going to want to go so that today's makes sense. The replay for this will also be up. You'll hit subscribe, and as long as you subscribe to that, then you'll get the notification.
So if there aren't any questions, some of you might need time to absorb all the information that you just learned, and you're like, hey, I don't even know what questions to ask at this point, because I just need to do it. I just need to put it in practice, right? So the best way to do that is to get started by visiting the link on that bottom of that page, or just going to Women's Business Center DFW.com, Women's Business Center DFW.com. You'll be able to complete a client profile and then schedule a consultation with one of our business advisors. Yes, we are the Women's Business Center, but we help men too. So you are all welcome if you need guidance and support through your entrepreneurial journey, because that's what we're here to support you on.
Tarsha, thank you. You are incredible. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Thank you to everybody for showing up here today. It's a lot of information, but really is a wealth. So don't be afraid of going back, listening to this, taking notes, and really, using this as the education that it is. So this was the last session of its kind through Sarah for the year. but we are going to be back on January 20th. I'll be back here with you, and I'm looking forward to all of us continuing to learn together. There are so many incredible speakers still to come in 2022. So if you want more on Sarah's programs, the website is up in the chat, the YouTube channel up in the chat, and right above both of those are Tarsha's templates so that you can take some time over the next few weeks and work on that. I'm getting some direct messages from people saying thank you. So thank you again, Tarsha, for all of the time and for sharing your knowledge and expertise, and sending the best to you and to everybody on the session. And we look forward to seeing you next time.